My name is Rhapsody, and this is Slay the Spire. We have a special challenge going on today, as well as a special guest. Would you like to tell us who you are and what we're going to be doing?
Gladly. So I'm sneakyteak. I hang out a lot on Twitch, create some content there, and this is a challenge that I've been trying on air that was introduced to me by another streamer that we like to call the ladder streak. It's a Slay the Spire challenge where you need to beat the heart 20 consecutive times while ascending, starting at Ascension 1, going all the way up to Ascension 20, and rotating through classes. So we're going to start with Ironclad at Ascension 1, and then Silent Ascension 2, Defect Ascension 3, Watcher Ascension 4, and then back to Ironclad Ascension 5, and so on. Or at least optimistically, that's what we'll do, because truth be told, this is the hardest gaming challenge that I have ever attempted. This is a ridiculously hard challenge, but it's very, very fun. And there's a lot of room for experimentation too. So that's what it is. And that's why I'm here.
So I did see you streaming this on Twitch, and I thought it was like a very, very interesting format to work with. But also, I know myself, a large amount of the time when I go and fight the heart, I've got a powerful deck. Yeah, well, maybe it can take on the heart, rather than building specifically towards the heart. It's been a long time since I've done the Ascension Heartbreaker series, which was effectively kill the heart for each character on Ascension 5, Ascension 10, Ascension 15, Ascension 20. So I'm out of practice for Ascension heart kills. So I'm really going to be relying on you to help me out with that. With no further ado, let's jump into the first round. Turn off the Twitch integration so people can't decide our cards for us.
I was hoping that I could vote for your cards here. I hope you'll still give me a vote.
Oh, definitely. There will be a vote on pretty much every major decision that's going to happen over the course of this, which I will also mention for casual viewers of this series, or of my general Slay the Spire content, or of Twitch content for Slay the Spire. This is going to be a little slower than you may usually be expecting for a Slay the Spire run, because we are going to go over a large amount of the decisions to try and work up a decent basis from which we will be able to start taking on the heart with every character. Kind of the basics. So
I'm excited for that too, because it really is, the heart is a very unique challenge. It's almost entirely a different game to beat Act 4 than to beat Act 3. So
100%.
It's very fun. After
the heart was released, there was a long period of time where I started to categorize things in terms of like, if I want to build a run for the heart, I kill the deck that will beat the third act boss.
Interesting.
I imagine
like Gungeon, kill your past kind of situation.
Exactly. You're familiar with Gungeon as well?
I am. I haven't played a lot of it, but I'm familiar with mini games.
Ooh, it's a good one. Big fan of the old Gungeon there. But I'm gonna ask you to start with here. What would you take?
Yeah, I don't know. So I always have talked to people about asking simple questions, because this is actually one of the most difficult questions that you answer in the game. The Niao bonus, it's really tricky because you're given such a large decision space versus like a single set of 3 cards, right?
Yep.
So I always look at the map first, because I find that I want to check my pathing before anything else. And
speaking of your pathing,
yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any like specifics for your pathing? Because I can give you my specifics for pathing like easily, which is like low ascensions. I'm looking for the most elites, most rests on the first floor for the most upgrades. Done.
Yep. That's generally the case through every ascension. Elites are the single strongest way to make you better and to improve your odds against the heart too, because a lot of your power will come from relics and synergizing with relics, or at least that's my opinion, right? And one of the curious things about ladder is my opinion has changed a lot over the last 1,000 hours of Slay the Spire. But Act 1 though is probably the most solved act for me at every ascension, which is that you have an ideal path, and then there are like alternatives that you consider depending on what you see. If you can take 3 fights and then get a merchant and then get a fire and then only take elites, that is what you want. That is like the ideal Act 1.
Right.
And if you can't find that, then something else.
For the early purchase of a damage card and then the upgrade before you go for the first elite?
It's just optionality, right? You might get all the damage you need in those 3 easy pool fights. The first 3 fights in Act 1 are from a different pool of fights than everything after. And you might not. The shop just gives you the kind of enough space of looking at cards to almost guarantee that you'll be powerful enough to start taking elites. And once you've taken down 1, you snowball them. They're not going to be much easier or harder than taking on a hallway fight at that point. So
definitely,
I see immediately to the left, there's a nice cozy path.
Oh,
where there's a bunch of elites and a bunch of fires.
It's so good. It's 3 rests. It's 4 midline. Sorry, 3 elites, 4 midline rests. Nothing else but question marks.
Yep. I'm always considering whether there's a good path to take on the Empowered Elite in Act 1, just because Act 2 Empowered Elites are very scary, and Act 3 Empowered Elites reduce my options. But the path to Empowered Elite in this act is super brutal. If the other path on the left weren't so good, I might take a really high power Meow bonus to try to do this, though. And Ironclad can certainly do that. If there's any class, Ironclad and Watcher can take the unprompted Empowered Elite on Act 1. I would feel a lot better if there was a Merchant before it. So I don't think this is the act for it. Can I see those Meows bonuses?
Sure. Got a random rare card plus max HP by 6, lose all gold to transform 2 cards, and obviously the trade.
Okay, I'm going to reveal something about myself, which I will try to moderate. Part of my joy of ladder is that even though the heart is ridiculously hard at Ascension 1, my background in Slay the Spire was like 1,000 hours of Ascension 20 heart runs. There's a lot of room to experiment and play around at Ascension 1. And so I will try not to be too goofy. But even at a higher Ascension, I would strongly consider Transform 2 here. I think Transform 2 is a really solid start here. Because there's no Merchant on the left path.
I don't have a problem with that at all. Again, the no Merchant on the left path is a huge part of it. If it was literally anything except for lose all gold in order to get this, I wouldn't want to take it. But it is, and...
Oh, I take damage here too. I'll lose max HP there. I just don't want to curse. I don't like the curse start in slot 3 is the hardest one to take, I think. But I'll lose health very easily here, especially with Ironclad's starting relic.
Hell yeah. So if you were to transform 2 cards, because we will be doing that, would it be a strike and a defend?
I would, well, so I've done also a lot of Ascension 0 Ironclad speedrunning. I'm transforming 2 defends on this screen.
Ooh!
Every time.
Oh god! Every time. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to be good by the heart fight time, so let's go. Thunderclap Twin Strike. Okay.
There you go. You do damage. You definitely do damage in every hand.
So for the kind of obvious plays, I'm obviously not going to run them by you. In that case, you kind of just kill the target.
Yeah. No. I'm happy to fill the space when you're doing that as well. So this is an interesting set. I'm curious. I don't want to take too much of a front seat. I want to hear what you like here.
Sure. It's a lot of people say see an armament, pick an armament. First armaments you see, get it. Right?
Really?
We do have an upgrade before we get to our first. I mean, at least a lot of people say that to me. It's clothesline for me, 100%.
Yeah, I like the clothesline, and it's also defense that does damage. It's a solid card here.
Yep.
I'd take it.
It's also like a big damage card that costs 2 energy that can happen after a Thunderclap.
Thunderclap helps a lot, yep. Thunderclap, I've started taking Thunderclap pretty aggressively. There's no need to take a regret here, I don't think.
Okay.
If we get, there could be a Merchant on the next floor, and then we'll be kind of sad, I guess, but not too sad.
How sad are we?
Not too sad. I mean, I would love to buy some things. But Strike Dummy makes us very strong. Sure.
I love it if we could get it.
We would be at what, 270, right? We lost out on 150 gold there.
Yeah.
So we would take Strike Dummy, but also still have a regret in the deck.
A lot of the question mark spaces on Act 1 do happen to be removals.
That's true. That's a good point. Or take damage for value. That's so funny that we immediately got a Merchant. Hey, you got to call your shots, right?
Yeah.
We took a low variance path, and I think that's a big thing about Ladder Streak that you'll hear me talk about a lot is we're not asking to beat the heart 90% of the time. We're asking to beat the heart 20 times in a row. And so the types of risks that you take, the profile of risks you take look very different. And sometimes you do have to put yourself way out on a line, but particularly in a really strong Act 1 like this, you don't have to take that kind of a risk. And so you probably shouldn't, or you'll just die before you get to Ascension 20.
Yeah, 100% agreed. In particular, like you mentioned Gungeon earlier, my experience with kind of like streaking in games started in Gungeon. That I would streak constantly Gungeon. Like I think I had like 97 Lich kills in a row or something like that before I died.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the big thing for me was I would constantly stress to people that I'm looking to win every single run. So there are things that I will have to do and have to not do that usually would be fun or add variance and stuff like that. And I have to I have to take a system that is built to be pseudo-random and make it consistent. And in order to do that, there are some things that you just have to forego.
Having said that, to undermine myself, my experience is mostly above Ascension 15 when events get worse. And I suspect that some of those options are a lot juicier than I think they are. At Ascension 15 and above, that event is like only 175 or only 200 gold instead of 250. So I may underpick it. It may actually be the best option to take 250 gold and regret, but I'm okay that we didn't.
I built a kind of structure for myself where I wouldn't take any curses, because for a long time, I think maybe 200 and something episodes, the big thing that I did was thin deck daddy kind of situation. It was my basis in deck building games comes from game like Dominion, where you build an engine, those kinds of situations. So oftentimes I want to keep like a relatively lean deck at the start, and I brought that with me into STS, and that formed my playstyle for a very long time. After that, though, I started to balloon my decks to 30, 35 regularly, but before this it was very common that I'd have like an 8-card deck. So like any extra card is no.
Because in my last ladder streak, which got to 16, I think my average deck size was probably on the order of 38 cards. I build very, very large decks when I'm streaking, and they're very consistent, but they've got a lot of moving parts. So just so you know,
that's honestly exciting to me, because another thing that I do want kind of like out of this collab is using the word collab is so weird. Another thing that I do want out of this is that I want to be exposed to playstyles that aren't necessarily my own, and this is the best way to do it. Now here, I'm gonna pitch that I want the Perfected Strike, and then I want to leave.
Okay, can I see who the boss is?
Sure.
This plays a huge role in my selection here. So knowing that it's Guardian is immediately a huge detractor for Evolve. I take Evolve here sometimes because Evolve is a single card solution to Tri-Sentries, and it's also really solid at mitigating the downsides of the fight against Slime Boss, and arguably against Hexaghost too. But against Guardian, I don't think that I'm about to dump every dollar that we have into an Evolve. Perfected Strike makes us very, very aggro, and we can certainly lean in like that. But I'm also really tempted by this True Grit. I like this True Grit a lot.
So is True Grit is True Grit a speculative pickup for things that you would like to exhaust, or is it just like a solid card?
It's a little of both. And what I find a lot of with Ironclad is that often your solution to Act 2 is to be able to use Exhaust to make a deck which doesn't win into a deck that does. And so it's like you will never regret this card. You don't even need to upgrade it. And it could be an important part of an in-game deck as well. And it's just going to make you better at like the Tri-Sentries fight. It's going to make you better at Lagavulin. It'll save us randomly a life against Lice on floor 7 or something. So it's a solid card. You can take both. You can go Perfected True Grit, and that's just a pretty good store, I think.
Could do. Are you on board with the Perfected?
I love Perfected Strike. And it's solid damage. It's probably our upgrade before the Elites.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
We didn't remove any strikes, so.
So this is always the 75, like, unless you're gonna die, right?
Yep, pretty much. Unless the one point is if it's gonna. What is happening? What is this act? It's shops only.
If we had the regret, though.
It's shops only, Rhapsody. We should have taken so much money. Do you want? Hey, okay. So how smorky are you feeling?
Okay. So yeah. I'm feeling the level of smork that's above. Wait, hang on. How am I defining smork? So smork like above would be more face, right? So I'm feeling a level of smork that's above like a bunch of Shrug-It-Offs and below taking flex.
Right. Okay. Oh, flex. I take flex in Act 1 very frequently, but not with this deck. Not with this deck. But I would be happy to put another Perfected Strike into this deck.
Do you take a consideration to Inflame as a result of the fact that Twin Strike is multi-strike and is like the best pickup that we can make for a Perfected Strike deck other than Perfected Strike?
I think Perfected Strike is... well, we have a clothesline in this deck, I guess. If we didn't have one other 2-cost attack, you know, a consideration here actually also is just a potion. I saw you mouse over that energy potion. I actually think it's really, really strong. So I would probably either Inflame Perfected Strike Energy or Blessing of the Forge. Blessing of the Forge is solid in this deck, or card remove. And I would still be willing to card remove a strike, even with the Perfected Strike, but I would rather not, because it will cause us to win Gremlin Knob like a turn earlier. So I think all of those are perfectly fine.
How do you feel about Energy Potion Uppercut?
I think Uppercut is a lot of upgrade debt. This card really, really wants an upgrade, and we already pretty strongly would like to upgrade our existing copy of Perfected Strike.
I will say we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have a lot of upgrades.
5.
Yep. Let's forecast what's in the deck. We would take Uppercut and we would upgrade that. We would upgrade Perfected. I like an upgrade on Clothesline a lot. And like at some point, I do like the True Grit upgrade. I just don't demand it in the way that a lot of people do.
I demand it.
You demand it. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I like here actually a lot as well? Remove Bash.
Ooh, yes. Okay, now you're talking my language. I like Bash.
I
and
don't
it's
always
also
do this.
one of the big problems we have is so many 2-cost cards, and we have a vulnerability setup that's cheaper than that. Obviously, it doesn't last for 2 turns, but you can't play Bash and Perfected Strike on the same turn anyway. So one turn of it is wasted.
Not without
on your
that
2
energy
strikes.
pot. Yeah. And it doesn't reduce the power of your Perfected Strikes. This deck is going to find it already has Thunderclap, and it's going to take a Shockwave like over almost anything, just because it's such a good card. So this will, if ever there were a deck which is going to not care about Bash, it's probably this one.
I'm very comfortable with the Bash removal.
Cool. Do not take this for those of you who are perhaps learning to ladder. Bash is a card that you usually want to keep and upgrade, but everything about Slay the Spire demands context, and that's part of the reason I love the game so much.
There's no consideration for weakness on turn 1 to hold to turn 2, right?
Nah, we're just smorking.
Okay, phew. I was just trying to make sure that, wait, I didn't make a decision there, did I?
No. I think you're just doing as much damage as you can. In fact, depending on your draw here, I probably strike too. Taking 6 damage to win next turn, if that's a possibility. We have a Perfected Strike that does how much? We've got.
It sucks that it doesn't show you it on this screen.
I agree.
1, 2,
21. It's 27.
Yeah,
27. Okay. So we can definitely win next turn with a single draw Perfected Strike. If we
but
don't draw Perfected Strike, then what?
If we draw Perfected Strike next turn, then we win with the strike already in hand regardless.
Yeah.
So we don't need to strike this time.
And True Grit actually increases your chance to see it. So I'm down. Sure.
It's not 27 anymore. It's now 24, which is actually short.
Oh, God, that's true. I didn't think about it. Well, maybe it's Thunderclap.
Oh,
you go.
Yeah,
you got to call your shots.
Oh, come on.
It's okay. Thunderclap and Twin Strike, Perfected Strike's job is not to beat the heart here, most of the time. Occasionally you get the crazy 8 Perfected Strike like Snecko Eye deck, but Perfected Strike's job is to beat Act 1 and 2 for us, so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sure can be value.
Is Shuriken...
You should take it.
Yeah. So is Shuriken not like a holy hell kind of moment for you?
It's not anymore. A lot of the things that were holy hell moments before Heart and before ladder streaking aren't anymore. I am really excited about this frequently, like at when I'm already in a deck that's looking for just a bit more scaling. And it's cool to build towards it in the beginning of the game. Ironclad has all sorts of ways to take advantage of Shuriken, but when Ascension 15 was the highest Ascension, I would get this Shuriken and be like, cool, we won. But I don't feel that way anymore. It just is such a different surface. I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited. We're gonna put in work with this Ninja relic for sure.
Hell yes. It's the Clothesline first and then True Grit next, right?
Sure. Or even Clothesline Twin Strike.
That is one thing. I have seen a lot of players upgrade Twin Strike as a priority for the extra 4 damage.
Yeah.
I never it's one of the last things I'll target with an upgrade.
So it's all about the challenges that are coming up, right? I prioritize. Tiny Chest is so funny. You could take a blue key here and it would be okay. I don't know if I would or wouldn't. I probably would take blue key here because the deck is going to want to take so many elites. And
okay, right.
Question mark rooms are good anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing is I see a Tiny Chest early and I'm always like, oh, how many relics is this going to get me? But
You can win with either path. I can guarantee it. Either path we can turn into a win.
Well, how about we think about it in the reverse, which is like Tiny Chest gives me more options later for which I will replace with a Sapphire Key.
Right. Right. Oh, that's interesting. Sure. Sure, take it. On stream, I probably take this just because I'm excited about it in Act 1. It's fun.
So we just had the
do
Gremlin Knoll.
upgrade damage very aggressively in Act 1. And the benefit of the Twin Strike is that Twin Strike has a weakness against Lagavulin. You have a 50% chance to see Lagavulin, so getting more damage out of it is nice. Thunderclap upgrade is actually like not awful, but you don't care about it. So I would probably Twin Strike here.
Just to clarify the rule that Sneaky was just referring to, you cannot fight the same elite 2 times in a row in elite spaces. The question mark that can force you to fight an elite can get you 2 in a row of the same kind, but not 2 subsequent elite spaces. So it's going to be either the Sentinels or Lagavulin coming up next.
Thank you. I always forget to clarify that. I've just played this game so much. I forget about the things that I hold sacred, you know? So we don't have any block coming up, but we do because we have Clothesline. Do you get the Shuriken proc turn 1?
I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about it because like the openings from this point on are all 2-card openings, right?
That's right. I think I'd do it.
I'm down.
Thunderclap is only a turn of vulnerable anyway. Your twin is empowered. We can like Thunderclap Clothesline and then it's smooth sailing.
Do you Thunderclap Clothesline to go aggressive here, or do you Clothesline and defend? Because it's an extra 7 damage on the Clothesline.
I do Thunderclap Clothesline because, and sometimes you have to really math this out, but heuristically, taking a bit more of an aggressive path through this fight saves you life. Because if we can get the kill now in the next 2 turns, we're done.
Yeah, I try and always break down my combats into amount of turns and amount of attacks rather than like the individual quantized like health points and stuff like that, because that matters to a degree, but it only matters in are you going to kill the enemy before their next attack on you.
Right. And actually, we probably could have even gotten more optimal there. Heck yeah, I love this shockwave. I think it's very good.
It gets upgraded to the next space. Come on. this first floor is being very kind to us.
Yep. We hope to see Snecko Eye. We do have a density of 2 costs.
Oh, I'd love it.
That's an Ironclad problem. That's just a common Ironclad problem. Nice. Turn 1. Immediate upgrade. Look at that value. 5 turns. Is this Perfected Strike insta-kill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Can kill the backline. Nice. You can block. You can definitely block here. In fact, I think we could have gotten 1 more block off against Lagavulin, but I think we'll be fine without that 5 life. The only fight that's going to be interesting is Guardian, actually. I have lost this to Guardian before.
This is exactly lethal in the Sentry.
Sick. And it's a Shuriken proc.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't save 6 damage with a liquid memories or anything here.
No, I agree. I'm holding every potion for the Guardian. Our deck will feel awkward in that fight because we're going to have to smork in a fight where you usually want to kind of defend a little bit. Akabeko too. Yeah. How strong are we going to get?
Akabeko with 2 Twin Strikes already in the deck, and you know there's no Ironclad deck that passes up like, wait, hang on, I'm putting this out as a rule, but I should ask it as a question. Is there any Ironclad deck that turns up the first occurrence of Whirlwind?
Yeah, I've started doing it more often because it really likes to be upgraded. But I'm not going to say I do it very much. You want the card. It's a nice card to have. I love the shrug.
Yeah.
I think I click on the shrug very quickly here. Yeah. Especially with Guardian coming up.
No.
Disagree.
I don't go for doubt. You disagree?
Yep. No, I disagree on taking it. Yeah, I just disagree the option.
Right.
Not disagree with you. You come into my show, tell me how to pick my events.
This is Sneaky's channel now. I've embarrassed myself.
No.
I'm handing over the credentials. Just make sure to keep to the upload stream as well as doing your own.
I'll
streams.
try. My cadence isn't as good as yours, but I'll do what I can.
We've got. So here, due to the severe lack of defense in this deck, I'm actually like amenable to the idea of upgrading a Shrug It Off.
I like that. I would either be upgrading the Shrug It Off, or the other option, which is an interesting one, is upgrading True Grit with the intent to start strong with a very offensive deck against Guardian and then whittle it down to just like Thunderclap and 2 Twin Strikes, which will also beat that fight because we have a Shuriken. So I think you can win with either of those upgrades. I think they're both awesome.
Well, now I'm trying to think like that's like for the boss this floor, which of them is more beneficial for the start of the next floor before I get to my first upgrade? I'm thinking probably True Grit at that rate.
So I guess the True Grit consideration is you can make sure not to accidentally nerf your Perfected Strike so you can like kill Chosen faster or something. And the Shrug It Off is just you have a single block card in the deck which blocks for more, which is actually really valuable. Ironclad really benefits from just having a couple cards that have a big block number on them. Impervious, Ghostly Armor plus, Power Through plus, like these are solid cards. Shrug It Off can fill that role too. You should take the True Grit. I think it is really convenient to have True Grit upgraded. You can think a lot less by doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I think also with True Grit, one of the options that we have is obviously if we're targeting the removals on things like, the defends, probably not Thunderclap at any point, the basic strikes and stuff like that. We don't have to worry about the fact that we're downgrading the Perfected Strike by removing the basic strikes, because at the start of the fight, the Perfected Strike is important in its giant damage, but later we have the Shuriken procs, so the Twin Strikes are better.
Just to prepare you and audience, we will eventually have to start removing strikes from this deck, probably. But but that's okay. Yeah, I think it's actually a common mistake with Perfected Strike is to hold too hard onto your basic strikes. But if you have enough Twin Strikes, Perfected Strikes, and Pommel Strike is like God tier, then you end up having all the damage you need through the mid and late game without having the cumbersomeness of basic strikes. And we missed the strike dummy, right? Which is kind of even sadder now, isn't it? But
it really is, especially because like
it's gonna be okay.
my recent history has been hunting for the strike dummy in a Perfected Strike build, and I just can't get it. One time, everything stars aligned, every single call I made at the start of the episode came true, and then I got the strike dummy on the chest in the second act, and died to the elite immediately afterwards. Like everything came true, and then I died.
Hey, I'm all about a Shuriken proc on this turn.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yep.
That's the part I was clarifying.
Very worth.
So we'll probably work into actually segmenting these episodes by act. Seems like the best idea at this point.
Do you ever skip Shockwave on this turn to get it later in the fight? What's in the draw?
Ooh. Clothesline True Grit.
I definitely shrug first, because if I see the True Grit or something, I might want to play it.
Okay.
Or the clothesline, actually. So I think we can safely Shockwave here. It'll save us health in the early part of the fight, and it'll let us scale up more aggressively with Shuriken too.
Yeah.
Just good stuff.
So the True Grit target here is the strike and then clothesline?
I think so. I like that.
Cool.
I just had this really wild deja vu out-of-body experience when you said that. I have no idea what from. In that moment, I feel that I have lived this life before. Maybe it's just how much I play this game.
This is us doing it again.
Right. Oh, God. We just had this conversation, Teak. You don't remember?
You don't? You're not doing it for a bit? This is us re-recording the episode. We just did it.
Oh, no. Oh, no, I am in a loop. It's Groundhog Day. I'm fully stuck.
Is there any time at which you play play for a Shuriken here rather than a Shrug It Off?
I don't think so. If we had a Anger in the deck, sure, because then you can still shrug. But taking 15 damage right now in a deck that does not defend consistently seems pretty aggro.
Just defend Perfected.
You're turning in on the fight.
Ooh.
Sure.
Am I not?
I can also see just defend. I can see defend clothesline. I think you can defend Perfected here, and we'll proceed to win. And in the worst case, we can bail out with a health pot.
Yeah.
Or with liquid memories.
So it's 50 to put you down on the ground, so I probably go True Grit the defend and clothesline here.
Sure. I like that. Yeah. And then we have the close, no problem.
Yeah. Basically, it's just wait the next 2 turns until we get the Perfected Strike, play it to win.
Bingo. This deck is an absolute smork fest. This deck it's bringing the pain. What's it gonna be?
I'm really interested to see how this is going to make the corner to actually have enough defense to deal with the heart.
Yeah, yeah. What it does is it fights every elite in the planet. Oh, feed can do that for you. But this deck is actually really bad at landing feed. It probably lands enough to be worth it, though.
It probably does, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, if we haven't defined like what this deck is going to do, there's two cards here that help you define what you're gonna do. But Barricade's obviously not the one we want.
But this is what I've come to see with particularly Ironclad and Watcher. The more I play this game and the more streaking I do, it's such a weird thing to say out of context, right? The more streaking I do, the more that I start to feel personalities for the different characters. And Ironclad and Watcher share something in common, which is the most elites that you can take is the most consistent path to beating the heart, because they derive so much value from relics providing mitigation and from relics providing direction. I like Demon Form, but it's also a very slow, clunky card. If we're not offered a third energy or fourth energy or a Snecko Eye here, we have a lot of trouble getting it down. And frankly, the deck doesn't convert it that much anyway. We take a ton of damage on the way there. Barricade really only helps if you're overblocking sometimes, right? Like with Impervious, or if you're doing entrench things, Body Slam. Whereas Feed can just turn into health, and health beats the heart. Health can be your block, but it's going to make for a spooky-ish Act 2, probably.
Yeah,
if we were to land this 6 times, it'll pay for itself, no problem.
It's funny you should mention that, because I oftentimes think of health as a resource, but when I think about going to the heart, I never think of health as a resource. I just want block.
Yeah, health can be block for Ironclad. Ironclad specifically can beat the heart with feed as the mitigation.
Excellent. We'll pick that up, and then where's the Snecko? It's
but I do love this pyramid. Yeah, this pyramid's very good. Pyramid lands more Shuriken. It makes it much easier to land feed. Shockwave is a solid 3 energy card. So this is good. This is a good pyramid.
Excellent.
This might be the weird run where we look for like bloodletting, something that you almost never do.
I was thinking along the same lines of this might be the weird run that we take Rage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I like Rage actually.
You do?
Yeah, I take Rage a lot more often than bloodletting, but it just depends. We can anger flood this deck, no problem.
Would love to do that as well.
True Grit.
Seeing red is also going to be like a great pickup again, because it's just energy on tap. All right. Well, for the moment, that is going to be Act 1. We'll continue this in the next video. Sneaky, would you like to tell me what you do and where you do it, where the people can find you?
Gladly. Wow, we really got into it. We really explained everything in that act. that was fun though. So I am sneakyteak. I am a Twitch broadcaster. That's my full-time job. I make content over at twitch.tv/sneakyteak. That's a stealthy tree. I play a lot of games, a lot of Slay the Spire, but some other stuff too. Risk of Rain, Nova Drift, recently some Monster Train, which Rhapsody introduced me to. And I'm hoping to, and looking forward to, fingers crossed, introducing a YouTube channel and some other kind of avenues of content creation later this summer. So thanks for checking me out. And thanks so much, Rhapsody, for having me on the channel. This has been a lot of fun so far.
No problem whatsoever. I was elated when I got the response that you'd be interested in doing this. So,
easy choice.
I will say that all of the links that Sneaky has just mentioned will be found in the description down below, as well as a link to the playlist for all of the episodes in this series. I usually say past, present, and future, but I'm going to say present and future. Hopefully you've each been enjoying yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you next time.